Today we're going to take a look at the best case scenario for Donald Trump against Kamala Harris in the upcoming election. And just like for Harris, this is going to be as of early August. There's no regular prediction this month because there's been too many changes, but you can take a look at my Harris-Trump hypothetical from a couple weeks ago. So this is the best reasonable red wave type of scenario. It's not going to be a 40 or 45 state landslide. This is going to assume Trump maintains or increases his popularity. He's underestimated in the polling and the rest of his campaign turns out to be a success. Meanwhile, Harris as well as Biden are going to have some missteps over the final 3 months. The economic sentiment is not going to get much better. There's still going to be all the issues with the border and immigration. And the bump/honeymoon period for Harris is going to fizzle out. I understand Democrats are excited now that Biden got out of the race. But prior to the debate, Harris has generally had even lower favorables than Biden. So I don't think it's too much of a stretch to think that those numbers could come back down a couple of points. There's also the Trump assassination attempt. Maybe that gives him some sympathy. There's not going to be a whole lot of weight on that. But either way, I didn't want to get too crazy with this map. We'll update it in the future. So let's get into the safe states. These are going to be over a 10-point margin. We'll start with Kamala Harris. Even at a decent red wave, she's still going to get Hawaii, Washington, Oregon, and California. In the Midwest, Illinois is going to stay dark blue. Then in the East Coast, she's going to get Maine's 1st Congressional District, then Vermont, then New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and Washington, D.C. There was previously talk about New Jersey maybe getting under 10. I was always very hesitant on that, and in this, it's going to stay over 10, but it would get much closer, maybe 11 to 12 points. Now we do the safe states for Donald Trump. He's going to get Alaska. Then all the usual states, we've got Idaho and Utah in the west. Then it's going to be Montana, Wyoming, North and South Dakota, Nebraska at large, Kansas, Oklahoma. And then we come down to Texas. This is debatable in a red wave scenario. It's borderline likely safe, considering the trends in the different parts of the state. For now, this is just barely going to hit 10 points, but I'm close to leaving it at likely until we see what happens over the next couple months. Then Trump is also going to get Iowa by over 10 points. This one will be comfortably over 10, even close to 15. Then Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama. We'll also give him West Virginia and South Carolina. And then we've also got Ohio. This was high single digits the last 2 elections. It could even hit 10 on a regular night. In this, it's easily going to hit 10, 11, 12 points. So that's going to go safe. And then in the northeast corner, we've got Maine's 2nd Congressional District. And then finally, Trump's home state of Florida. This one is also borderline likely safe after DeSantis won by 19 points in 2022. A couple of years later with presidential turnout, I don't think it's going to get close to that margin, but this assumes most of that rightward shift translates into the presidency. So in this, Trump is going to hit about 10, maybe 10.5 points. Now we can go down to likely states for Kamala Harris, and these are going to be between a 5 and a 10-point margin. She's got 2, and that's going to be Colorado and New Mexico. Colorado is much closer to safe, while New Mexico is much closer to leans. So they have the same rating, but they're still about 4 to 5 points apart. Now we've got the likely states for Trump. He's only got 1, and that's going to be North Carolina. Again, you could put Texas and Florida in there if you'd like. North Carolina is going to hit about 5.5 points in this scenario. Now we can move down to the lean states, and these are going to be less than 5 points, but more than a 1-point margin. And we'll start with Harris. She's going to get Minnesota. Prior to Biden dropping out, some people were saying this could potentially flip. I always thought that was a little bit of a stretch. Now I think it's a little bit more of a stretch. But of course, in this, it's going to get under 5. It's going to get down to low single digits. A flip right now is still too unreasonable, but I think it could get down to 2 to 3 points and go leans for Harris. Then we're going to go to the Granite State, New Hampshire. This is another one that Trump almost won in 16. It wasn't that close in 2020. In this, it's going to get under 5, but not flip, and it's going to go leans. It's also going to be a similar situation in Maine at large. It's going to be closer, but Harris still gets it leans. Finally, we've got Virginia. Another state I was hearing could be competitive prior to Biden dropping out. I wanted to wait and see what happened, and again, since he dropped out, I think the margin is going to be wider. For now, I'm going to say it's about 4 to 5 points and go leans. Now we've got the lean states for Donald Trump, and he's going to sweep all the swing states just like Harris did. He's going to get Nevada, Arizona, then the Rust Belt states of Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and then down to the peach state of Georgia. In a red wave best case scenario for Trump, you could make a case that 1 or 2 of these could get over 5 and go likely. We've seen it in the polling with Biden. Again, I don't want to get too crazy. For now, I think it's most reasonable to put these at leans. And finally, we've got 1 electoral vote left. That's in Nebraska's 2nd Congressional District. This, I think, would be highly competitive in this scenario. But for this, I kept it blue, and it's going to go 1 point or less and tilt for Harris. So the final electoral map is 312 for Donald Trump, 226 for Kamala Harris. So Trump pulls it off pretty easily, just like Harris did in her best case scenario. scenario. And on this map, as well as almost every other map I do, there's going to be several states that are going to be borderline, either lean likely, likely safe. So you might be just on the other side on some of these ratings. But this is pretty much going to be Trump matches his current polling, and there could even be some hidden Trump vote out there that the polls do not pick up like in the past couple of elections. If it's close to how it was in those elections, then several of these states Trump would even do another 2 to 3 points better. But for now, this is going to assume Harris just does not connect with enough voters. The enthusiasm is temporary, it fades, and it does not spill over into independents, blue-collar voters, and suburban voters are just not that impressed. This also assumes Trump does at least a few points better with black voters than 2020. He also boosts his Hispanic support to 40 to 45%, plus white working class voters, as well as many of the other demographics, are going to just shift a couple of points toward Trump. Most of that is going to be because of the dissatisfaction with the direction of the country over the past 3.5 to 4 years. It's also going to assume abortion issues and Trump being a threat to democracy is not the greatest motivator like Democrats had hoped. So once you even everything out and try to consider enough of the issues, this is the map that I settled on. You could always make some changes, but let me know in the comments, what do you think about this red wave scenario? Do you think it would get even redder? Or do you think that Trump would come up shorter than this? What do you think are the biggest factors? Let me know down below on your way out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and join if you'd like to support the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.